Give me 12 minutes and I'll show you 10 Obsidian tips and hacks that will permanently upgrade your note-taking system. You don't need a massive vault redesign. Just by using some simple things like custom hotkeys and Obsidian URLs, you can actually remove most of the friction from your PKM system. So we're gonna start with the basics and we're gonna work our way up in terms of complexity, but by the end of this video, your vault is going to feel a lot more powerful and a lot easier to use. Now there are separate chapters for every tip I'm gonna share if you wanna jump between them, but let's dive right into the first tip here, which is using the quick switcher to jump between notes easily. Just hit Command O or Control O on Windows to open the quick switcher. Then start typing the name of the note that you wanna open. The autocomplete shows all the notes that match your text, and you can select the note you want with the arrow keys, then hit the Enter key to open it, or hold the Command key while hitting Enter to open it in a new tab. You can also create a new note from here by typing the name of the note that doesn't exist yet, and hitting the Enter key, which will create that new note and apply that title to the note automatically. Now, one of the places the quick switcher is most useful is in the mobile version of Obsidian, which does not display the File Explorer on screen while you are looking at the contents of your note. The screen is just too small. So on the mobile version, you may want to configure the mobile quick action to use this quick switcher so you can find notes easily without having to open that sidebar. To do this, just go to Settings, Toolbar, and then tap the Configure button to configure the mobile quick action. Then select the Open Quick Switcher command. Once you've configured this, you can swipe down anywhere in the contents of an open note, and the quick switcher will open, and you can just start typing the name of the note that you want to open. The second tip is to use Hover Preview to see the contents of the notes that you link to without actually leaving the current note. So to do this, you just have to hold the Command key on Mac or the Control key on Windows and hover your mouse cursor over a wiki link inside of Obsidian to preview the contents of that note in a pop-up window. For example, I have some Bible study resources that I've put together. You can find the link to download those in the description below this video. I have these in my vault where I link to the original Hebrew or Greek definition notes for the English words in the Bible text. Now with Hover Preview, I can hold the Command key and I can open up a note preview of that Strong's definition for the original language alongside the English translation in the note text itself. Now this is the kind of thing that is a signature feature of expensive Bible study programs that can cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But using Hover Preview, I can do the exact same thing for free inside of my Obsidian vault. Another place Hover Preview is really useful is in Kanban boards. I use these for my creative projects, and using Hover Preview, I can see the contents of the notes for my video scripts, for example, without leaving this Kanban view. And I can even click inside the previews to modify the note metadata, for example, changing the publish date. Now, one of the reasons this is so useful is that it immediately starts to reinforce the habit of link making. Those linked notes can be a little bit tricky for new users to pick up, but this gives you an immediate reward for making those links, which is great for beginners who are trying to build a linking habit in Obsidian. The next tip is to add external links by pasting a URL over selected text in the body of your note. Just copy the URL, select the text inside of your note, and then instead of hitting Command K or Control K on Windows, which is how you insert a link, just use the regular paste command, and Obsidian will not only create the link syntax, but it will actually insert the URL into the appropriate place in the markdown automatically. The next tip is to use callouts, which are an easy way to add some visual flair to your notes and bring attention to important text. To add a callout, you can run the insert callout command from the command palette, or simply type a greater than character, a space, then square brackets with an exclamation point and the name of the callout type that you want to use. For example, exclamation point quote, exclamation point tip, or exclamation point bug. Whatever text you type to the right of the square brackets with the callout type will be the callout title text, and whatever text you put on the line below will be the text that shows up in the contents of the callout itself. There are a bunch of callout types supported out of the box with Obsidian, each with their own icon and color, and I actually have a reference of these callout types inside of my free Obsidian Starter Vault, which you can download at vault.practicalpkm.com. You can also add your own custom callout types with the Callout Manager plugin, and you can make collapsible callouts by adding either a plus or minus character right after those square brackets. The plus will have the callout open, and the minus will have the callout collapsed by default. And you can click the caret to open or close the callout while in live preview or reading mode. The next tip is to create atomic notes using Note Composer. Now, Note Composer is a core plugin that lets you do two things. One, bring together multiple notes into one longer note, and two, break apart longer notes into separate smaller notes. I never use this core plugin to merge notes together, but I do frequently use it to break apart longer notes into smaller atomic notes inside my vault. So to do this, make sure that you have the Note Composer plugin enabled in the core plugin settings, then just select the text that you want to make a new note out of, invoke the command palette with Command P on Mac or Control P on Windows, and run the extract current selection command. You can select the note that you want to merge the text into, or start typing the name of a new note, then hit the Enter key to create it. The original text gets cut from the current note, and a link to the new note is inserted in its place. You can choose whether you want to create a normal link or embed the new note in the current note in the Note Composer settings, but either way, there is now a new atomic note in your vault and a link to that note from your active note that shows up in the graph view and local graph that you can use to navigate between them. All right, this next tip is one that I don't use a ton because, as I just mentioned, I prefer to break my notes apart into smaller atomic notes. But finding the right level of atomicity, if that's a word, for your notes is subjective. So if you prefer those longer notes, another great feature is the ability to link not just to note titles, but also note headings inside of other notes. Just type double brackets to create an internal link, then start typing the name of the note that you want to link to. Select the note from the drop-down list and then type a hashtag character to auto-complete the specific heading that you want to link to in that note. So this creates a link that will take you not just to the linked note, but the specific heading inside that note that you want when you click on it. You can even link to specific blocks in your notes using the up caret, but this creates these weird number identifiers that don't really mean anything, and I think the block links are a little messy in Obsidian, but the heading links can definitely be useful. The only catch here is that all the links in both the graph view and the local graph exist on the note level, so you're not going to see links to headings or blocks show up in either of those graph views. Now, speaking of headings, these also show up in the outline view if you have the outline core plugin enabled. This appears in the right sidebar by default on the desktop, and it gives you a quick outline of the headers that are in your current note. The headers are nested by header level, and you can click on a header to jump to that spot in the open note. But one thing you may not know about this outline view is that you can actually use it to reorder the contents of your note. So to do this, you just click on the header that you want to move in the outline view, and you drag it into your desired location in the outline. When you let go of the mouse button, that entire heading and all the text below it will instantly be moved inside of your active note. The next tip is to create your own custom hotkeys for triggering specific commands inside of your Obsidian Vault. To set up a custom hotkey, you go to Settings, Hotkeys, then search for the command that you want and click the plus button to add the hotkey that you want to use. Type the hotkey and it will be applied to the appropriate command. If there isn't a conflict with something else in Obsidian, it will be black like this. But if it does conflict, it will be red, and you can click on this red box then to show you which commands that the hotkey actually conflicts with. Now, one of the ways I avoid conflicts is by remapping my caps lock key into a hyperkey. So that simulates pressing the Shift, Control, Option, and Command keys all at once. Hitting all those keys physically requires some serious finger gymnastics on your keyboard, so it's pretty much guaranteed no other hotkeys on my system will be using all those modifiers at once. But using an app like SuperKey or the free light version, which is called Hyperkey, I can reprogram my caps lock key to make hotkeys that use these modifiers much easier to trigger. So for example, I have a bunch of quick add commands that are mapped this way, like the new task macro, which has the hotkey Shift, Control, Option, Command T to capture a new task to my master task list file, Shift, Control, Option, Command J to capture a new journal entry to today's daily note, and Shift, Control, Option, Command G to capture a gratitude entry. But thanks to SuperKey, I can just hit the caps lock key along with T, J, or E respectively. The next tip is to link to your Obsidian notes with URLs. You may not know this, but every note in your Obsidian Vault has a deep link URL that you can use to navigate to that note from somewhere else on your system. To get the URL for the current note, you can open the command palette and run the Copy Obsidian URL for Current File command, which will copy a link to the current note to your clipboard. Then you can paste that anywhere, like a calendar app, a task manager, email app, just about anywhere else on your system. Now this can be handy if you keep your documentation inside of Obsidian, but you need to link to it elsewhere on your computer. So for example, you could create a task in your task manager and then paste the URL for the reference note in the description of the task. Then when it's time to take action, you can click the link in the task and go straight to the appropriate note in your Obsidian Vault. The link will always start with something like obsidian:// which tells your system to open the Obsidian app when this link is clicked. In my personal vault, I use this all the time, and I have a custom hotkey assigned to this command, like I described in the previous tip, so I can just hit caps lock C and get the link to the current note quickly. The next tip is to use canvas cards to create custom dashboards. Now, Canvas is another core plugin in Obsidian that lets you lay out your notes on an infinite canvas and create connections between them. But one of the best ways to use Canvas is to add cards which are not based on notes in your vault to your canvas and then put code blocks in those cards to create your own dashboards. So for example, I have a task dashboard that shows me a high-level overview of my tasks broken into my essential lists, and I have a journaling dashboard that shows the data from my daily questions over time so I can spot trends and make adjustments. In fact, I did a video recently on how I'm using Claude Code to revamp these dashboards that you can check out here, but the tip for this video is just to recognize that you can actually use code blocks like this inside of Canvas cards, even if they're not tied to a specific note inside your vault. Now, by the way, all of my custom dashboards are also available inside of LifeHQ, which is my Epic Done For You Obsidian Vault, which contains all my productivity and creativity workflows. All the plugins are pre-installed, all the settings are pre-configured, so you can actually just start using the workflows if you want, but each one is thoroughly documented so you can copy it easily into your own vault if you want as well. There's over 60,000 words of documentation, which is longer than the average nonfiction book, and I walk through how everything is set up so you can customize it exactly how you'd like. You can find out more about it by going to lifehq.practicalpkm.com. All right, so that'll do it for this video on 10 quick, super useful Obsidian tips. But just to recap, here they all are in order. Number 1, use the quick switcher to open and create notes easily. Number 2, use hover preview to view linked notes without actually having to open them. Number 3, paste URLs over selected text to automatically create markdown links. Number 4, use callouts to bring attention to important sections of your notes. Number 5, create atomic notes easily with the Note Composer core plugin. Number 6, jump straight to specific sections in your notes by linking to note headings. Number 7, use the outline view to view and reorder heading sections. Number 8, create custom hotkeys to trigger frequently used commands easily from your keyboard. Number 9, link to your Obsidian notes from other apps using note URLs. And number 10, use code blocks in Canvas cards to create your own custom dashboards. Now, if you want more Obsidian tips, templates, and resources, then you should check out my free Obsidian Starter Vault. As I mentioned earlier, it has a callout reference guide, which shows all the different types of callouts that are available by default in Obsidian. It also includes a bunch of additional tips to help you get more out of your notes and ideas, and several of my own personal template files as well. You can download my Starter Vault for free right now by going to vault.practicalpkm.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video.